You can't add X, man. All right, it's fine. Here we go. At X, you have to have a premium. Thought that was right. It's fine. We're already live. Just know we can't add X on there. All right, here we go. So, again, as always, the number one need right now is fuel. So you can go to themountainalliance.com, do the dollar fuel campaign. Today we took up to, I always talk about Broken Wheel Ministries. They're a great program. They've donated 5 cars so far this year, and they have a ton of other cars that are around the state that they don't have a way to get there. So we were able to take one of our work trucks, and we'll put it up here, and with Beam Trailer Supply, our Beam Trailer sales here in Mooresville, you can see in the back of the truck is a car hauler, and we were able to donate the truck and the car hauler. We're looking to raise funds for the car hauler. We're going to have that as a link later that you can go on and actually donate towards the car hauler. The other thing that they need at Broken Wheel Ministries are mechanics. If you're a mechanic, you want to donate your time, or if you just want to go help them clean up. It's a mechanic shop. They have a ton of stuff to do. The other problem is this weekend it flooded and Boone got hit pretty bad, and they're up in Newland, and they need money for grading and for gravel. It washed out around their shop. So that's going to be another thing we have up. We'll make a post with a video giving them the truck and then explain that part of it. Today we have a special guest. WNC Strong and Mountain Alliance and Mission actually have a lot of people working behind the scenes. I'm just the one up here on the camera. I don't actually do anything, I don't think. But Ann here is our partnership coordinator. She works with all the different nonprofits, all the different companies that are in, including the government. And first, give an introduction of Ann.
Hi. So my name is Ann, and it's just an honor to be able to support Western North Carolina. Never in a million years did so many of us think that we would see something like this, the scope that it is on American soil. So that's been really hard for a lot of people. I was a military spouse for 26 years. I worked for Samaritan's Purse. I actually worked for the medical arm of Samaritan's Purse, which is World Medical Missions, and also worked with another organization called New Directions International. Having been a military spouse, it's all about community, and partnering and fundraising is a huge component of what we do. So it kind of, my past set me up for this, and never in a million years did I think I would be here now. So I just had the privilege this weekend of finally sitting down with United Cajun Navy, Coalition Project, Emergency RV, and we all have been knowing each other since the beginning, but we only get to talk on the phone or through emails, and sometimes we talk on Zooms. But it was a great opportunity for us to just to sit down and discuss what's truly going on up there and what stage we're in now. And I think that's really hard for the American people to realize. You know, I had a military sister introduce me to a doctor in Hawaii, and we brought his wife in, and, you know, people have stopped talking about this, and it's terrible. We actually took a generator to a gentleman yesterday who was 76 years old in Old Fort, North Carolina. How he got missed, I don't know yet, because he was found 38 hours underneath his house after the storm hit. He mustered up enough energy to still yell, and someone walking their dog heard him and found him. Now, what you might be saying is, how was a man underneath his home and his house was destroyed? He's underneath it, but yet someone else is walking their dog. So let me explain that. I've been in the air and I've been on the ground. So when you're in the air and you're flying over this, you go and it looks beautiful. It is our true mountains of North Carolina and what we all love and cherish. But you'll see acreage that's just gone. And that's how it was in the situation where we were at. And it's still like that. We were there yesterday in this community in Old Fort, and homes weren't touched. But then you turn a corner and it's complete devastation. So the gentleman that was walking his dog got help. They were able to get the man out, and he's doing great now. But he was delivered a camper with no generator, and it was day 92 yesterday. How is that possible? I don't know, but I'm so thankful that Western North Carolina have the privilege of going alongside of United Cajun Navy and the Coalition Project to make sure that that gentleman had a generator, because the temperatures are dropping to 14 degrees on Wednesday night. With that being said, my main focus is to work along with these nonprofits and to kind of streamline things so we're not reinventing the wheel. Because you as donors, you are so anxious to give, and we so much appreciate that. But at the same time, we want to make sure that your money's spent appropriately in the right places. And it's great for these organizations to work together. And with that being said, I sat down with America Cares yesterday with a 2.5-hour meeting with their procurement director from Raleigh. And I finally had an opportunity to talk with her, and we discussed the supply chain. So America Cares is like the Costco for nonprofits. It's pretty amazing. And what we're going to do, because we're at the stage of the game now where everything's slowing down before the weather gets worse. And we're going to make sure that all the hubs that still exist have everyone's phone numbers. And that way they can inventory and be ready for what's going to happen next. And then you're like, but we don't see things on TV. No, you don't. I got in the elevator at the hotel I was staying at this weekend, and a family was there from Michigan. And I was with the director for emergency RV, and they started talking to us and asked what we were doing. We explained, and they were saying, oh my gosh, we saw how those restaurants were destroyed, but the Biltmore was beautiful. And I said, have you guys noticed anything, or have you heard anything? And they said, well, they don't show it anymore on TV. And I said, exactly. And she said, what are the needs? So as I began to talk to the lady, she began to cry. And I was like, ma'am, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to upset you. She said, I had no idea the needs were that grave right now. And we just spent a full day at the Biltmore. And I said, we want you here. We need you here, and we need you to come visit. And thank you for doing so. But if you want to take something home with you, I can give you directions to some areas that are just around the corner that you might want to lay your eyes on in order to keep North Carolina on everyone's radar, because it's not anywhere close to being normal. And we won't see a new normal for probably 5 years. What do you think, Ben?
Yeah, and a lot of what you just said there. What are the needs that aren't seen? There's so many of them, and there's so many people out there that it's been 3 months, and a lot of people think, well, what you can see from the road or what you can see on TV is handled. Mm-hmm. But if you take one step back off the main road, it is so bad. Mm-hmm. And it's going to be bad for a long time. But going back to your point, the tourists said that they went to the Biltmore. They didn't know there was a need, because around that area, they did clean up. But we do want those people to come, and we want the tourists to come, but we also want them to visit a little bit off the back road and help with the donations, help with one of the big things now is, how do you decide what donations are needed? And that's what we're working on, even in Franklin, is, do you continue to take donations? We'll take any donation, but should we start pressing towards gift cards or some kind of vouchers where we can give these people to get back to a normalcy in life of shopping themselves?
Absolutely.
And it's a fine line, because then you're wondering, well, are we giving it out to the right people? But it's the same thing with the supply hubs. You don't know these people that are coming in, if they're actually survivors of the storm, or if they're coming in to take products and go back and sell them.
That's a great point, because I'm on the ground. There's intake forms that these supply hubs are doing, which is amazing. And the generators, now in the beginning, this couldn't happen because it was move, 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 go, 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 save
Mhm.
lives and make sure people have what they need. So for that 3 weeks, it was fast paced momentum. But then everybody kind of pulled back and said, generators, the numbers have to be written down.
Mhm.
The heaters have to be written down. So they keep control of that now. When cases of things go out, it's written on them donation. And I think that's really great. So to let you know, you're always going to have those people that shouldn't be there, but that's okay. Because I think what we all get caught up in with our social media, um, there you don't know what's fact and what's not. And I actually felt vulnerable. The crew just kind of was like, "And that's a scam." And I was like, "Well, I only sent $20." So, I'm sitting at home at like 10 o'clock at night, and this young lady post and was like, "I didn't get to the food bank in time today, and I need money for hot dogs and milk for my 3-year-old daughter." Well, I'm a mom.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'm gonna I'm gonna Zelle her $20. Thank God I didn't send her 100. But that is going on. That's gonna go on.
Well, it's going on a much bigger scale too. You have the people that came out, and I get why people are very leery of donating, because you had these people come out, and Russ Robinson was probably gave some of the best examples where he was at. They would come out, rent a machine, do a little bit of work, take a ton of video, put on a hazmat suit, go in a house, do a little bit of work, take a ton of video, roll around in the mud a little bit, and then send it back to the city they're from. They're known from that city, or they have a connection in that city. Get, who knows, 20, 60, $100,000, pay the 10 grand it was for the machine and the hazmat suit, and then go back and never come back. They made a ton of promises to these people, and now you're starting to see those posts where these people are like, I was promised all this stuff by X, Y, and Z, and nothing ever happened, or they just disappeared and never came back. And that's what we're trying to do with Western North Carolina Strong, is first make sure that we have the funding, we have the procurement before we do promise really big things. Now, we have done a ton of work, and we don't always post all that we do. But that's because we're not screaming it at the top. We're trying to build the base that we can do this for the long run, because this is 10 years. And me and Ann were talking about this today. There's a ton of people who came out, they did started a nonprofit or tried to start a nonprofit, and they went really hard for 2 or 3 weeks, and now they're just burnt out, or they've done a lot of stuff that probably they didn't do it the right way. They didn't get the legal advice they needed, and I don't know what comes from that, but we don't want to be in that situation.
No. And so that's where we're at right now with vetting. We have to vet everybody at this point. If you're a priest, you're a priest, but I'm still vetting you. If you call me and say, I need a car, oh, okay. Well, let me look into organizations that you need a car, but I have to get some information from you. And
a lot of people took campers, cars, and then they had houses already.
Yes.
So what are they doing with those campers and cars?
Yes. So that's really hard. And, yesterday was a good example with Emergency RV. They had a delivery going to Black Mountain, but the person that was boots on ground there didn't tell them the only flat place to put the RV was where the mobile home was that was destroyed. So once they got on property, the family brought it up from the Outer Banks, and I had met the family that was in the distribution center with Allison that we help with. She remembered meeting me like a month ago because we had a group of ladies from all over the world. They're a knitting group of 700,000 strong that sent us beanies.
That's crazy.
They sent us beanies for families. And so Allison's been giving those out, and it's been a blessing. But I met this lady. So yesterday she was like, oh my gosh. And it's so good to see them, because I get to foster relationships and be with people. And in the beginning, I'm like, are you in this for the sprint or the marathon? And that's like you guys. You're okay. If you're in it for the sprint, that is awesome. Thank you. But if you're in it for the marathon, thank you.
Yep.
Because we need that. And not only do we need that, we the people need that. And that's my heart for Western North Carolina Strong is just like Benjamin's. I grew up in Wilkes County. Our county was hit, but it wasn't hit anything like what I see every day. But it also goes back to everybody has struggles, but some struggles are stronger than others. Um, I always tell people it's about humanity and unity. And if we can understand humanity and unity, we can survive this. But if we can't get people on board with humanity and unity, we can't survive this. Um, has it been sad to see how our government reacted? Absolutely. But they have done good things as well. FEMA, you know, shame on you at some point, but you've done good things as well. But
Has their good outweighed their bad? You've been in the field, you've seen more than I've seen. Like, I've been out there, but you have actually talked to just about everyone, every group. Every day you're talking to a politician, every day you're talking to a group. And I know you had this one point where you were going to go meet with FEMA and not condemn them, but say, hey, give me all the positive stuff that you've done. What came about that?
well, I got derailed that day and ended up finding a campground that it was week, what are we, 17 right now, going into 18? It was 3 weeks ago. And ended up having to go put eyes on this campground to make sure the information I received was correct. So emergency RV director was with me that day on the mountain. I don't go anywhere by myself. I usually meet someone up there and we go together as teams because that's just what you need to do, because we're in hard hit areas and these people are hurting. And if we can bring a little hope to them, that's what we do. So we get a phone call saying there's families at this campground in Polk County that no one's gotten anything to. And I'm like, how can that be possible? I had a point of contact from Henderson County that went over from Adopt a Family and called me that Sunday night about midnight and said, Miss Ann, it's true. They have nothing.
Wow.
And so I got on the phone with Emergency RV. We met on that Tuesday when it was raining horribly. And we went to America Cares. I didn't know exactly what their needs were, but I knew that they probably needed heaters, buddy heaters, electric heaters, because they did have generators. We did take one generator with us that night, but it was just she and I, so we couldn't take a big one. And we took a ton of supplies and food. We get there, we had 41 families in that campground.
And that was 3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago. And 14 of those families were displaced families.
Wow.
And I always get hit with, this person's on drugs, so we don't help them. Are you kidding me? Now's the time to help them.
Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest disappointments that I've seen is not only is just, security or police saying they're on drugs, we're not going to go down there, but it's the church too. The church has been very adamant that if they're on drugs or they're doing the wrong thing, we're not going to go help them. Where to me, it's the time that Jesus goes and sits with them and says, hey, we know what you're doing is probably not right, but we're here to help. To show them what Jesus would do. And, I always put Matthew 12:24 on everything, and there's a reason for that. But if you go in deep into Matthew 12, that's whenever Jesus goes and sits with everybody.
Absolutely. And, I learned a long time ago from a gentleman, one of the vice presidents, Samaritan's Purse. He made everyone feel, regardless of what his statute was in the world, he developed a common ground with everybody. I learned that at 26 years old. And I think it made me a better person working with people, because I don't care what social economic background you come from. If you need help, we're going to help you.
Yep.
And so that's been eye-opening for me. I mean, it's not fun and games. I mean, I get that a lot. No, it's not. Now, when I get to give away a car and a camper that's been donated,
that's the good feel moments.
Those are amazing. I got to do that the other day, and that was a great situation because I'd been sick and I was really hoping I'd get better by Friday. So I didn't know anything about this person. I didn't know if it was a guy or a girl. It was with Brian Trowler at Toller, Towler, Toller. I have to think about it in my mind. It was with Brian. So Brian and I only spoke like twice that week because I didn't have a voice and I was whispering. So that Friday morning, thank you, Jesus, my voice was back. So I head up the mountain and I get there and it's a young girl. Well, what was interesting about this young lady, she'd been at the top. She and her husband had built $1 million home and had a 6-figure income. They lost it all.
Wow.
Now,
Mm.
on top of that, she's been there, and now guess where she's at? She's at the very bottom. I sat with this young lady and cried with her, and we spoke for an hour. And she now is a single mom in school, raising these two young girls. And as I'm sitting there, a foundation that I work closely with doesn't do campers. And she just shared with me that her home was destroyed. The heating was, completely gone out of it. The landlord said that they would start doing some things, but her parents had given her land. And that's what we struggle with. I would
Yes.
love, guys, if somebody came and called us and said, guess what? We have somebody that wants to donate 5 acres to you guys. Oh my gosh.
If we could get 5 acres, we could do. So that's one thing that we're wanting to do through Mountain Alliance Admission, but it will be coordinated with WNC Strong, is build a development that is self-funded by donations.
Correct.
And I don't know if that's ever been done from scratch.
It hasn't.
It would be something for Western North Carolina. And we started out with the hopes of doing 100 homes, but the funding has not came through. But I think if we could bite off 5 acres, 10 to 20 homes, is something we can get funded and funded fairly quickly.
Well, it's interesting that Ben says that, and I'll get back to the story of the young lady that we helped. But I find discouragement talking to these nonprofits because they want to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
We can't do it all. We got to work together. And you start out with the goal of we're building 1,000 homes. That sounds great.
Good luck.
But it's not that easy. So in saying what Benjamin just said, it's little bites at a time
Mm-hmm.
that gets you the big picture. And it's just little pieces of the puzzle will finally complete the puzzle. And that's what I encourage these nonprofits to do. You might feel discouraged today, but guess what? Tomorrow is going to bring you a whole different day. And the blessings that you can provide for tomorrow is great. And these nonprofits are working hard. United Cajun Navy is doing a great job. Todd Terrell has done a tremendous job with those guys. The guys that I met from the Coalition Project, they're phenomenal. Emergency RV, he's a Woody Faircloth out. He's a North Carolina guy, graduated from Wake Forest. His dad coached at Wake Forest for 38 years. His brother, I think now, is the athletic director there. He lives in Colorado, and he's doing what he does from Colorado and drives here like all the time, or flies here and helps deliver all these things. And he wants to do more. And I mean, I think the other night, I think they brought in a total from Thanksgiving, 20 some RVs that were donated. Wow. And they're good RVs. But it's just little things at a time. I mean, if you can only give $1, that's $1. I mean, that is perfect. Do large donations, are they helpful? Well, of course they are. But I mean, if Billy Graham was here, he'd tell you in the beginning that those grandparents, our grandparents, your mom and dads that wrote those $5 checks a week, that's what supported them and got them going.
Yep.
And so it just takes a little bit. But this young girl that I was talking to, she was just unreal as far as just how humble she was. And she actually shared with me she had gone through a little bit of addiction because of being in a battered relationship. And of course, it's hard for me. I try to convey to these teams, if you come out with the question of, do you need Narcan or do you need Suboxone? We can get that for you right now because it is a vulnerable situation, and we can get you the help that you need because we have those resources. Those resources are there, and we can do that. And that's part of the process in vetting these people, because not only do we want to help them succeed in getting their life back together physically, but we want them to succeed mentally and emotionally and spiritually with all of this. And so as I'm sitting there, this foundation that doesn't deal with campers sends me a text and says, hey, we have a camper and we need it delivered ASAP. It just came in. And I said, I text back and I said, I'm actually in the county here and I'm with a young lady that has 2 young daughters and she needs a home. So that day I actually got to facilitate a car to her and a home for her children. And it was right before Christmas. So that was pretty darn amazing.
The you talked about RVs. I would like to know the number of RVs that have been donated.
I can get that number.
I don't know. There's a lot of different groups out there.
I can get that number.
I would
can get
also
pretty
like to
darn close
know
to it.
the number of bicycles that got donated.
Oh my gosh.
It was
Bicycles,
crazy.
I went through the internet because I participated. We facilitated a bike giveaway in Asheville on Saturday. And but before that happened, before Christmas, I was scrolling through of all these bikes and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So I started counting like the different organizations, the different individuals, the different churches. I came up around over 10,000 bikes.
I was telling my wife I thought it would be around 10,000.
10,000 bikes went up there. And then Saturday we had at the Baptist Church downtown Asheville, we had 469 at 2:00. And at 4:00, they left the mountain with 8 bikes on their truck.
Imagine if all those nonprofits worked together, though.
Oh, I know.
And we could have used some of the bike money to buy other stuff. That's my biggest thing right now is how do we work together as nonprofits?
Well,
and that's kind of what you're coordinating or trying to coordinate.
Yes.
And it's a big task. It's a big job.
It's never been done before. And the thing that is hard for nonprofits to realize is we don't want you to share your money and we don't want you to share your donors. That is your mission in your mission statement. And I think what has been interesting as well, and even Benjamin tried this. I mean, we spent an afternoon at Camping World and I'm like, what are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
We got people doing RVs. You don't need to be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he was so anxious, like so many out the gate, wanting to help people and touch everything. But those organizations are set up for that.
Yep.
And, Samaritan's Purse will tell you point blank, we can't do it all. We've got to have everybody. And those grassroots are what was the beginning of all this.
Yep.
And so the RV thing has just been amazing. And we'll come back with a number. I can get that number pretty darn close because the organizations, I work with them. But I know there's 700 on the intake list right now. That we need 700. Just emergency RV needs 700. I had breakfast with them this morning before I left the mountain, and her intake was 700 right now. That's how many they need, 700 RVs.
That's still a big number. And we do have some tents that we need to get out. Remind me of that. Speaking of cars, if anyone that watches this or is on here now, we do need one car. It's kind of an emergency on it. The husband and wife have 4 kids, a set of twins under 1. They've had 2 cars donated, and the transmission came out of one and the motor came out of the other within a day of them getting it. So they have had a lot of bad luck, and sometimes bad luck does follow people around. I told them I was going to say a prayer for them and get this bad luck turned. But if you have a car that would fit a family of 6 and you want to donate, we can do that. If it doesn't run, we can actually, through Broken Wheel Ministry, we can get the work done for it. So that is something, if you're watching, I just wanted to bring that up. Okay, let's go.
Wait, are you talking about the family that the child was medevaced because of pneumonia?
Yep.
Okay, let me explain something about this family. This is interesting because we touched a little bit on government organizations. This young girl, she's not young. She's a mom, and she does a great job being a mother. But she had reached out to FEMA and did all the paperwork. They reached out to Red Cross, did all the paperwork, and I get a phone call from our finance guy from down in Raleigh, and he's like, hey, I'm working with this family, and this is their situation. We facilitated, we found out the baby was really sick, got her flown to Atrium in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. She was diagnosed with pneumonia, and they wouldn't release her unless they know that she was going to a warm home. Well, their house was destroyed. Their camper that they were in, the power, or not the power, but the heat was out. They didn't have heat in that camper. But she was able, we facilitated and actually provided them with a hotel room. And so they were in a hotel room for about 5 to 6 days so we could get them a camper. But in saying that, this family went through and did everything right. I had my eyes on their paperwork and she did everything she was supposed to do. I'm on the phone with Red Cross and I'm like, hey, she has reached out to FEMA at 3:00 today. It's 5:30 and FEMA hasn't got back to her. We have the baby that had pneumonia, that's 3, the twins, and then the little. And we've got to get a hotel room for them. So we tried to use the channels properly.
Right.
We didn't try to do it on our own. We tried to use the channels properly to get them what they should be given. And I'm on the phone with Red Cross and they come back with, well, we can't help them because they didn't fill out the paperwork with us and we don't have, they didn't do that part. Well, guess what? They did that part. So
Yeah.
I go back to Red Cross and I'm like, she did. This is the file number. And then
that's been the problem with the bigger organizations is how do you, just like the lady you were just talking to, a lot of people don't want to donate to the big organizations because by the time the money gets trickled down,
yes.
What's left of it and how quick can it be used?
Yes. Yes.
And in these situations, especially with like this weekend, storms come in, there's needs immediately that have to be met.
Yeah. And guys, I was up there this weekend and just to be around the people, the survivors that thinking a storm's coming, it was really heart-wrenching to see that because the PTSD is going to be there. And they were scared. And what's going to happen is our first ice storm. Yes. I've seen slides that are so vulnerable right now, and I'm meaning mudslides on the mountains. It potentially can set up to be worse than the initial because we will not be able to use the air.
Yeah, and that's what we were about to transition into. What are going to be the needs going forward, or what's the concerns? And what Ann just talked about are the mudslides that are going to happen. If you're from the mountains, we all know if it freezes, it thaws, it freezes, it thaws. You'll see banks slough off. You'll be on the road. You can go down a state road and it'd be a complete cut against the bank and it still slides off. Well, now we've got slides. We have soil that's already conditioned for a slide because of all the rain that it took during that storm. So these slides are going to be way worse than what we had to begin with because the soil is already damaged. And whenever we get those freeze and thaws and you get that first ice storm and the trees start getting weight on them, especially the trees that are already down inside these slides can set up to be worse than what the actual storm was.
Yeah, it's very true.
And now you're talking about roads that are already broken, roads that you can't pass already to get to people. And then you start throwing the snow, the freeze, the thaw, the ice. It could set up to potentially be worse than what we've already seen.
Absolutely. And with a low canopy, we can't be in the air dropping.
Nope.
And as we sat talking and just the possibilities of what might come in at dinner Friday night, I was up at 4 a.m. in my hotel room tracking the storm because people now are going to be so scared emotionally about the storms to come. And it's going to be worse on that level as well, is how to handle the people during that time because they are going to be so scared.
But these people aren't leaving either.
Oh, no.
They're not going to go. I know that so which county was it you went and they actually said that the people should move to South Carolina for the...
I was in a town hall meeting in Mitchell County and one of the leaders said, FEMA has a camp set up in South Carolina. They can just move to South Carolina. Let me tell you something. These people ain't moving.
No.
And I don't blame them. I mean, this is their family. I was with a family yesterday, a lady of a family, and that land that they were on was generational. 4 generations. They're not leaving. No. And I don't blame them. I don't.
No.
And as long as we, the people, can help the people, that's what we're going to do. And, so I have people that reach out and say, we want to give, but where do we give to? And how do we know it's trusted? I can give you resources. If you guys want to send us, email us. Benjamin, what email would we use?
You can Well, you can use mine, Benjamin at WNC Strong, or you have Ann
You
at
can use
WNC
Ann
Strong.
at WNC Strong, and I can give you vetted nonprofits and vetted grassroots that truly are doing what they're supposed to do and respecting the individuals at hand. And another thing that's really bothered me, Benjamin, is I was on the phone, that campground that I was able to facilitate with these and work with these nonprofits that I got in there to help these people. They called me last week and said the lady, the point of contact, was telling me some things, and someone said they won't let me have the heater. And I was like, did I hear somebody say
Wait,
that
won't let who have the heater?
someone had came from Candler to Polk County and they had assisted a family getting into a mini home, and they needed another heater and some blankets. Well, this is a hub, supply hub that I just facilitated and got these organizations in there. And I hear they won't give me a heater. And I was like, what? Did I just hear someone say that they're not going to give somebody a heater? And I was like,
What was the reasoning for not giving the heater?
that belonged to them. Their donors for that organization got that. That was theirs. No, no, no. Let me make it very clear to everyone. Those donations that you, the people, provide, they belong to the people. Those organizations are just vessels to get those materials and supplies to the people. Now, if I can't say that any louder, just, email me. Now everybody's got my email. I'll be more than glad to get on the Zoom with you, because this is for the people. And, I was telling Benjamin, I need to visit all the hubs that still exist. And if I roll up at a hub at 95 to 100 days in, and you've got 100 generators on property,
Yeah.
or you have 1,073 buddy heaters, that's a problem.
Yeah, things have to be looked at whenever that happens. And it has happened. And, in some cases, they get taken off the mountain. And
They do.
that's one thing that we're trying to facilitate, is make sure that all the supplies that are get given out to the people that need them. And here's the thing. I get that there may be heaters in excess, maybe not 1,073 that happen. But if too many donations are given, that those donations either need to be returned and the money get given back to the organization that has it, that can then facilitate the money going out to the people, or they need to be sold and the money given out and facilitated to the people. If we give everybody heaters, we don't need any more heaters. There's still needs for other things.
Correct.
Housing, we need housing.
But the main thing is fuel. If we
Yeah,
don't
right
have
now
fuel,
it's fuel. We need fuel for heat, and it's going to be that way. I say it every time. I know you get tired of seeing it, but we're going to need fuel for heat for the next at least 4 months.
Yeah.
And it might even be 5 months. It goes into May.
Yeah. We had the privilege, and we have the privilege of working with some amazing people and organizations, and Western North Carolina Emergency Network did a phenomenal job with the fuel campaign that they did. But the thing is, the funding stopped, and they were funding all of Avery County. And I think, I may misspeak, please forgive me, but I think it was around 52,000 every few days is what they were going through.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, it was 50 something thousand a month,
Oh,
or a week.
50 thousand a week. Okay. So that goes quickly. And Prime Fuels here in Mooresville was doing a phenomenal job. Dan was great in providing a great cost for that. And you run out of money, and people are like, but they have everything at those hubs. They don't have fuel. And if you don't have heat, you don't survive.
Right. And that's the greatest thing, heat and food. So, that's what we've said since a few weeks in, that we're going to give hope through housing, health, and heat. And that's what we've tried to do. And we have 10,000 more going out this week. I don't know exactly who that's going to go to. Me and William are trying to decide if it's going to go towards firewood or towards heating fuel. Because firewood, a lot of these places, that is their only source of heat right now, is wood. All right, as far as big wins, what have you seen that you're like, yes, that was great?
Oh my goodness. being able to provide these people with the smallest things and them get so excited. In week 3, I had a lady come to Avery County area, and I happened to be at that distribution center that day. And it was her first time coming because she was scared. I was like, "Why are you scared, ma'am?"
That happened more than what anybody really knows.
And she said, "I'm afraid they'll come take it back from me."
Mhm.
And I said, "Can you look into my eyes? I'm going to make you a promise. There is nobody going to come take this back from you. And do you see all these supplies that are in here? They're for you. The people
Mhm.
donated those to you." And she just hugged me and thanked me. And, you know, she came back to that supply hub. They let me know that she continued to come back and had her family finally come. That is amazing. It's amazing to see these cards that the people are giving and donating. It's amazing to see what you guys are doing, and I get to reap the benefits of seeing it given in person, and that's just phenomenal. But we have to remember hope is a powerful thing.
If you lose hope, you lose
You lose
everything.
everything.
And
We've got to make sure these people keep hope
yep,
to
that's
survive.
the hope is without hope, everything's lost. And that's the scariest thing to me is whenever people start losing hope and the mental stability of not only the survivors but the volunteers, because what volunteers have had to see through this, and you know they're still you didn't hear this from me, but they're still finding bodies. And it, these aren't military people or trained uh, police, trained people that are used to finding bodies, and they're going to find them for a long time. Um, and what that comes with to the normal person that finds it is it's astronomical to their mental health in a bad way. So mental health is a big thing, and that's one thing that me and you talked about,
Yeah, we did.
and start trying to find ways to help the people that need help mentally.
Yeah, it gets me a little emotional because I had the opportunity to sit down with those groups this weekend with United Cajun Navy and Coalition Network and, or excuse me, the Coalition Project. And, you know, those boys have been there, boys and girls have been there since day one.
Mm-hmm.
Day one. And a few of those people I was with this weekend haven't moved. They haven't left. They've stayed.
It's a long time.
It's a very long time. And, you know, I told them how proud of them I was and how much that they meant to so many people. And I shared with Benjamin that being out with Cajun Navy, people coming up to them, the locals, thank you all for what you've done, and thank you for being here for us. And they're killing it. I mean,
Oh
they
yeah,
are, but they've got to take care of themselves. And that's kind of what I said to them this weekend. I was like,
they need breaks. You have to take breaks.
yeah,
You have to go and decompress and get away from it. And a lot of those people haven't. We can do it because we live here
correct.
and we can go home. A lot of people from the Cajun Navy or from Sentinel or wherever they came from, they've been here the whole time and they don't live here.
No,
And they don't have anywhere they can go decompress, and they have to do that. Shane, I see you calling me. I need to get you on a podcast. I'll get you on here, but they don't. And you can think that you can run as hard as you can for as long as you want to, but it's the human body is simply, and the human mind is simply not set up for that.
mm-hmm.
And we have to get those people away and decompressed and get new people in. Like right now is a good time for new volunteers to come on. If you're looking to volunteer or you have somebody looking to volunteer, uh, after this set of storms, right now will be a good time to do that.
Absolutely. And send me an email because I can plug you into nonprofits that need the volunteers. And, you know, that will be very beneficial. But what we need the most of is prayer for, out of all the years, we decided to have a winner now.
Yeah. And it's, I saw one model, a guy who has followed models for the last 18 years. And he said over the last 2 days, the models have changed to the most snow and the coldest temperatures that he's seen in 18 years. And these models have historically been correct. So that's going to be The cold weather comes on Wednesday, and it's going to stay at least through Tuesday, and then it's supposed to follow that pattern for a while.
Benjamin and I spoke about this in the beginning. I'm just going to put it out there today because it's never been done. But, there's so many volunteers up there who have quit their work and, they're up there and they're staying. They're not going home. They want to take care of these people. And I was like, wow, if we could stand up like a volunteer fund to where that those primary volunteers could get a little bit of pay. It's not like a paycheck, but could get a little bit of pay. How amazing would that be?
I'm having a hard time getting anything funded.
I know,
Funding this is going to be, and y'all know I'm on here asking every day for funding, and it's not for me. It's for everything that's going on. And we're starting to get people coming in with some checks and some cash donations. So it's starting to build, and I'm hoping that it follows that trend. The biggest thing is going to be rebuilding Western North Carolina, getting developments that people can live in, getting housing that people can actually afford. We're not asking to give people free housing. I know that the tiny homes that are going in, most of those have been paid for and free, but people, that's good through the winter. It's going to be hard for them to live in that full time. So we're trying to come up with ways for affordable housing that people can live in forever. That's my main goal and my main focus, and also getting businesses back up and running, because you can get people in housing. If they don't have jobs, it's not going to be a mentally stable community if people don't have work.
That's true.
And
if they don't have cars, because I've got that. Why aren't these people working?
If you can't get there, you can't get there.
I was at a place that we work hand in hand with in Swannanoa. Actually, Benjamin's actually going to this area tomorrow. And we get there and I'm approached by the people that are now assisting with that area. And they were like, oh my gosh, it's good to see you. And I was like, I'm sorry, it's been a while, been sick, but I like to check on people and I like to know they're doing okay. And like, do you need anything? How can we help you? If, let us know. And I was like, what's going on? Because you can hear all this noise. Well, a lady that lives on this property that owns land lost everything, her house, her car. And her car was in the Swannanoa River, and it was like now kind of pushed up on the bank. Well, insurance would not send someone out to look at that car in the river. Now, this just happened yesterday. I've never heard anything like this. So they wouldn't look at the car in the river. So they wanted to either you pay them X amount of money, the insurance company.
They wanted them to pay. They wanted the person to pay the insurance company.
Yes, an X amount of money, and we'll pull it out for you. Then we'll assess it and write you a check. Well, do you know how much money that would have been? So they had someone else come. It was astronomical, and it was so cute. The girl that's there, or the lady that's there, that's helping provide things for these families. She bartered. She bartered with this one gentleman, and it started out at 200, and I think they finally got it to 130. But we actually have video. I'm going to get that to Benjamin.
Yeah, we need that.
Them pulling that car out last night. We were there on the banks and they got it up, and now the insurance company is going to come after the new year and write our check.
I didn't even know that was a need. So I guess we need to look at, we could use our crane to actually pull cars out if that's our equipment. We've got the equipment's going to be coming in next week. All of it. We've had equipment up here, but the big equipment. So yeah, that's a need. I didn't know that was a need. I find out something new every day.
It is. It's interesting, but the whole thing with the insurances, and then of course you go back to a group I was working with was Saturday. They spent a whole day in the river, in a river somewhere, walking the river because of looking for bodies of family members that were found not too far away that are alive. But they're still doing that because
they're going to find them for the next
years.
It'll be years. All those big piles that were piled up.
And so, and if people are like, well, you mean they're still doing that? Of course they're doing that because people need closure.
Right.
And
you do. Yeah. Like you need to see that. Well, and that's one problem that a lot of these people will never be found because they simply don't exist. Whenever they went into the water, the water basically was going over 130 miles an hour, and then you throw rocks and debris. it's what happened is, it's something you don't want to think about, something you
No.
can't sleep at night. And I was going to ask you what's the worst thing you've seen, but I'm not going to ask you that because I don't want to know it.
No, we don't want to do that.
So right now, what, as far as you being in the field, besides just cash donations, what are the needs? We know cash and we know fuel. Is there any other just hard pressed needs that?
Diapers and actually winter coats. And I know people are going, what? Hubs have been broken into, and
We got broken into.
oh, really? Oh, yeah, that is right. I read that.
Mm-hmm.
So, people have been looting is up. I mean, it is.
That's sad to think that people come and break into donation hubs, but it happens. It happened in Franklin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Fortunately, the camp site area that we found, they had cameras everywhere.
Right.
And someone broke in and took a knife and tore every brand new children's jacket and men's jacket.
You're kidding.
No.
I didn't know this.
That's this was like,
what was the purpose of that?
We don't know. They're arrested now because it was on the camera. And what's interesting, my POC at that place, she's a rock star. She's a bail bonds woman.
Oh,
I'm from Henderson County. So I love it. I love that. So we try to, WNC Strong, we surround ourselves with good people. And if you won't give me your birthday, if I can't take a picture of your tag number, we can't work with you. Yeah. So.
And that's, in the beginning of this, everything was so fast. And I had someone on the podcast at the very beginning. 10 minutes into the podcast, I was like, I should not have brought this guy on here. And then it spiraled and he went through every single group. And now I think he got completely kicked out of Western North Carolina. And there's others that we found along the way. It was so fast and so furious, and people come up and you want to have the best intentions and you want to think everyone has the best intentions, but they don't. And that's the sad part of humanity. Mm-hmm. Whenever something bad happens, a lot of bad people show up, and they, it's basically they're in it's a wolf in sheep clothing.
It is.
It's hard to get through. And being that this is the first thing that's really happened in my lifetime in Western North Carolina, Peaks Creek happened. This is 1900 Peaks Creeks. And by the time this is over, it could be 3000 Peaks Creeks. Mm-hmm. By the time the freezing and thawing goes on. But everybody had to learn quick. And unfortunately, we're still learning.
We are.
And we'll learn. We'll get through it. All right. That's right at an hour of a podcast. Yeah. That's plenty for the first one.
Absolutely.
We will be back again. As I always say, if you're struggling mentally, physically, spiritually, reach out to us. We want to help you.
Absolutely.
And if we can't help you, we will find someone to help you. Anne's got a ton of contacts. She'll be back on here. Hopefully we're going to start doing a weekly podcast together, or Anne do one. She can get on WNC Strong and give you all updates of what she's seeing. And we'll be bringing other people that work with WNC Strong on. If you have any donations you want to make, let us know. If you have a need, let us know. And
if you have like a specific donation, that was one thing I was asked. Do you have someone with special needs? Do you have someone, a trach? Somebody asked me that. I thought that was interesting. I love that. Yes, actually, we have those. We have those families that have those children with special needs. If that is a donation, and what I encourage people, allocate where your funds go, regardless if it's coming to us or another organization. If you do not allocate those funds, which means on that check or on that computer, you type in, this is for rebuild, this is for fuel, this is for a special needs family. That money has to be allocated, because if they don't do what you're supposed to do with that money, they're going to jail once they're audited.
And we have that. You can donate right now to fuel or to the rebuild. And then we're going to set up, we have different things coming up, like the car hauler, or just helping him with the grading. So, you can donate to Broken Wheel Ministry through Mountain Alliance and Mission, and we'll be adding those as we go. So the big thing for us right now, though, is fuel and rebuild, and those get allocated and paid out. So.
Oh, yeah. And another thing. So our dinner was paid for one night. I don't remember. But if anyone wants to pay for a dinner for organizations, I can facilitate that. if you're like, hey, we loved what Cajun Navy did or United Cajun Navy did. We loved what Emergency RV is doing. We love what Samaritan's Purse is doing. If you want to feed those people and have, a dinner done. Now I can't feed all, you don't want to feed all of Samaritan's Purse, but if you want to feed, a few of those people that you worked with, we can work that out and get that done. And if you want to make that donation, you can do that. It's about giving and helping our volunteers as well succeed through this. And there's going to be more opportunities for you as well to give and as well as for you to volunteer.
Okay.
Right.
I love it.
Thanks, y'all.
Keep saying prayers, pray for Western North Carolina, and pray that the weather breaks and it doesn't get as cold as what they're saying it's going to get.
Yes.
We need that for sure. So God bless. Much love.
Bye.